Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsea. Today I'd like to share with you a simple card that I've made using the Seasonal Wreaths Stamp Set, and then I'm going to show you how you can step it up to create a stunning card using more products from Stampin' Up. So let's get started with this simple card. One of the things I like to do is to take a stamp and kind of repurpose it. So these stamps here look like they're supposed to be part of a wreath, and we kind of get that idea from the name. But what I'm doing here is I'm actually just stamping it twice in a row. And so we're kind of repurposing it. Instead of it being a wreath, it's just going to be a nice long stamp. So I'm starting with a soft sky card base, and I'm stamping on our Whisper White, and this is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. I'm using Pretty Peacock ink. It has this dark, rich blue color, kind of a teal that I really love, especially for kind of this snowflake winter card. Okay, so I've got my image on a clear block, just inking it up, and I'm going to start at the bottom so I can hopefully get it straight. So you'll notice that this one kind of points down, and then to kind of complement it and keep it in a straight line, I've switched it and stamped it so it is going up. And then I just kind of repeat, kind of line it up, give it about 1/4 of an inch between each row. Okay, so we've got our snowflakes along the bottom half, and then I'm going to take the greeting, and the greeting does come from the Merry Christmas to All stamp set. I just didn't feel like any of these greetings were really great for Christmas, and so I've taken the holidays and the happy, and we're going to use those for our greeting on this card. So stamp holidays first, and that's just going above the snowflakes. And then stamp happy. And that is going above holiday. Okay, so all of our stamping for this card is done, and you can see how quickly that came together. And the last thing I'm going to add, just because I like a little bit of something on my cards, I'm going to add 16 inches of twine, and this is the white baker's twine. And that just goes below the holidays. I like to tie a knot. That kind of just holds my twine where I want it while I'm trying to tie the bow. So then I'm not fussing over trying to keep my twine taut to the card. Okay, so then you can trim any extras. This one is a little long. And then it's not exactly where I want it. So I'm going to grab the knot and the back and just kind of shift it to where I want that bow to be. So then I'm going to put it on my card base. And I'm just going to use some liquid glue. And center it. So this you could put it at an angle. I sometimes feel like when you just have a nice simple card, it's nice to just give it a good border and center it. Okay, remember that when you've got liquid glue, that you do want to kind of smooth that out just so that you don't get any bumps. Okay, so our simple card came together really quickly. And it's got a good impactful imagery. You know, you've got your snowflakes and then your strong greeting. So let's go ahead and turn this into a stunning card. So we're going to do the same steps with the snowflakes on the same size of cardstock. Okay, so we've got 3 rows of snowflakes. Now we're going to take an aqua painter and we're going to grab some ink and just do a very light wash from the top down to those snowflakes. Now those snowflakes are going to give us some ink as well because it's kind of a water-based ink, so we can pick up some of that from them. So now we're going to set this to the side and let it dry. So while that's drying, we're going to do some things that kind of really step up this card. And one of them is the texture in the background. I don't know if you can see that, but we've got some dots, some kind of polka dots or bubbles from an embossing folder. Here's the embossing folder. So this embossing folder has been retired for a while, but I just thought it was a really fun kind of snowflake look or snowball look. And so I wanted to add that texture to that background. So you really could use any circle or polka dot embossing folder. And then we're going to cut out the holidays. And this die is from the Merry Christmas Thinlits. And they match the Merry Christmas to All Stamp set. So they're a kind of a coordinating set. And so you can see that it's got Christmas, Merry, Happy, and then some labels. And so we're going to do holiday in this. And we're just cutting that from the pretty Peacock Cardstock as well. Whoops, just pulled out my bow, which is another good reason to knot your twine, because then if it gets pulled out, you can easily put it back. If you've never used an embossing folder, it's pretty simple. You're just going to place your paper inside the folder and then run it through your Big Shot. You want to make sure you've got good pressure so that it embosses it. But you don't want it to be too hard to roll through that you break your seam here. And then you always want to go seam side first into the Big Shot. So if this was like the middle where the handle is, you just want to put that seam side first. And the reason for that is so that if by chance this gets off, you're not going to rip that seam because it's not aligned. So we're going to take this to the Big Shot and we're going to cut out our holidays. We'll be right back. So we've got those things done. So we've got our embossed paper and then our cutout of holidays. So now we can go back to our paper And notice that it is drying. We want to be careful because we do need to stamp happy right here, and we don't want it to bleed. So we want to make sure that that is really dry. So give that another minute. And we'll see if there's anything else we can do. All right. So let's go ahead and glue on some of the papers to this card while we let it finish drying. It's not really damp. It's just like, you can tell it's a little cold. So it's just a little bit wet still. So I'm just going to add this silver glimmer paper, and this is 4 inches by 1/4. And that's just going to add a little pop of glam to our card, which is really fun. And we don't necessarily need to have it be straight. We're going to be putting these papers on at an angle. Okay, and the next thing we're going to do, we're going to pop out this holiday and glue this on. Before we do that, I'm going to actually tie the bow since this kind of sits over the twine a little bit. So 16 inches again. Okay, so let's go ahead and move that to the right side so we have some room for our holidays. So I'm just going to add some small dots on the back side of my holidays, just to make sure to hold all that down. Okay, and then this I've placed at an angle. So I want the S to be above the glimmer paper and the H, like this bottom swirl, to be below. Okay, and then for the eye, I'm going to put the glue down first since it's such a small piece. And then I think it's still here, so we're going to poke that out. Flip it over. And then pick that up and place it down. Like that. All right, so now I think this is dry enough for stamping. So I'm going to get my ink again. And that's just going to go right here above holiday. So now we're ready to assemble the card. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to glue this to the embossed paper. And we're going to do that at an angle. I'm going to turn it over and just smooth that out. So I'm not pressing very hard, just enough to kind of move that glue around so I get good coverage. And then I'm going to pop this up with dimensionals. And I've got a sheet of dimensionals that is on its last leg, so I'm just going to snip some of these. Okay, so then I'm just going to apply this to my card front, and I just want to make sure that my pretty peacock doesn't come off the edge anywhere. And the last step I'm going to do, I'm going to apply some of these frosted, actually these ones are the clear epoxy droplets. And I'm going to use 2 of the small and 1 of the large. And the large I'm going to place right here by the bow, and then a small one up here by Happy, and then another small one down here below. Okay, so we are done with our stepped up version of our first card. And just to kind of go over how I like to step up cards, I like more layers. So adding another layer behind the white and even adding that embossed touch really brings the card up another level. So if you don't have these dies, you could just do something like that on this card and it would really bring it up, adding that extra contrast. Another thing would be to add some bling. So with this Glimmer paper, as well as the clear epoxy droplets, kind of add a little extra shine. And then maybe a die cut. Those really help bring some fun to a card by giving it some really nice details. And then adding that wash is kind of a really fun look as well. And you could easily have done that to this card. Just don't want it to make it too busy without adding some layers and contrast. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day! Bye!